Hello, everyone. Today I'm talking with Valerie Reichmann. She is psychospiritual therapist that specializes in transpersonal psychology, expressive art, psychodrama, and she's, of course, also a dream worker. And today I would like to talk to her about the importance of dreams in therapy, of dream sharing or community dream sharing, of group work, and expressive artwork, and how it can help us during the times of crisis, when we're exposed to very complicated circumstances, when life becomes unbearable, when our dreams are all over the place and we're just having really hard time during the waking life and our asleep life. So welcome, Valerie. Thank you for being here today. And if you maybe could start by saying a few words about how did you find your way to becoming psychospiritual therapist and a dream worker? Because obviously this is very interesting for me. How did the dreams come to the picture, and when they come to the picture, and how do you combine this in your work?
First of all, thank you for having me. It all started actually with my grandmother, because she was the one who, since a very young age, she shared her dreams with me. So since I was very small, I was confronted with the dream world and having dialogues with my grandmother about it. So yeah, since a very young age. And then later, I entered the world of expressive arts therapy as a young woman, because my grandparents were born deaf, actually. And I had, since a very young age, I didn't have to, but I was automatically drawn into the world of expressing myself differently, if you want. And I think that this planted a seed for being more expressive and going more into the field of expressive arts therapy and psychodrama and drama therapy, etc. And then, because I was always so very attached to my dreams, I wondered how I could combine both of these worlds. And this is how I started being interested in combining the expressive arts with dreams.
Wow, that's so interesting and so beautiful, and showing again that our life circumstances they may seem hard, like having to have to communicate with your grandparents in unconventional ways, learning a sign language, I believe, can put us on a beautiful path and determine our future in such a beautiful way. Really, it's when I think about it, when the words are not enough or we can't really use them, what is out there, what else is out there? And actually there is so much out there, but we also in therapy, not most, but many types of therapy, it's just talk therapy. But as you are the great example, there is so much more than the talking and the expressing from the body, expressing in the form of art, expressing by analyzing the dreams that come again from different states of consciousness. It's so beautiful. Wow, that's really incredible. So you decided that you would love to combine the dreams with your psychotherapy practice. And how did you start doing that? Were your clients that were coming to you, did you just start to tell them, I also work with dreams, and you could maybe share your dreams besides your everyday struggles or problems? Or how did that go? Like how did you plant the seeds of being psychotherapist that works with dreams?
Right. So it is exactly like you're saying. In the beginning, when clients come to me, we start with a sort of a talk therapy, but slowly but surely, if it's okay with them, of course, I introduce other ways of communicating, of dialoguing. And exactly like you just said, dreams is one part of diving into other sorts of communication. And I really introduce that to them just by simply asking them, well, do you remember your dreams? Some say yes, some say no. And even people who do not remember their dreams. And it actually happened to me as well when I first started going to therapy when I was younger. When you start talking about your dreams, even about the dreams, when you start explaining, for example, that you do not remember your dreams, you activate already something into your unconsciousness, which, 90% of the time when people do not remember their dream, I really look at them and I tell them, and I'm almost certain of myself that the next time they will come to me, they will come with a dream, even if it's, I dreamt about shoes, but just the simple fact that it's active, we planted some seed into their unconscious mind. And yes, it is something that comes sort of automatically afterwards if you let it. Yes.
Exactly. If you let it. When people ask me what I do, what I like, whatever the question is, the dreams somehow always come to the picture. And it's exactly what you said. Even when the person tells me, oh, I never dreamed, so then I just politely explain that we all dream, we just don't remember, which is okay. And then, wow, if I got a penny for every time that someone said, I don't remember the dreams, and then I got a message, oh, I just remember a dream. Yes. I would be quite rich, I must say. And it's so incredible because it sounds too good to be true that only talking about the fact that you can't remember, not even setting an intention, not even doing anything, just saying, like talking, having conversation about dreams. It's already like putting the seed there.
And it really, even me, I am always surprised by it because, that person in front of me is convinced, but so convinced that, come on, I don't ever remember my dreams. It's not now that I'm going to, and it almost always happens that, the week after or 2 weeks after, suddenly some dream pops up. So I find that incredibly magical and always very surprising. Yes.
Yes. And why do you think that dreams are an important part of therapy? Why do you think that dreams should be brought to, or you find from your experience that the content of our dreams, what happened in our dreams, what happened when we sleep, it's really important to our overall well-being?
Because I believe that our unconscious mind has a language of its own. And I believe that it has a lot of things to say. And these symbolic images that come out specifically during the night, they need to be decoded sometimes, I agree, but they have something to say. And I believe that dreams are there to always, even nightmare, always to help us in a certain way, to give us certain messages, to help us understand more who we are, to do some deep shadow work as well. So yes, I think dreams are there. It comes from a wisdom part of ourselves, and it's there to convey a message about ourselves and to help us live our lives wholer. Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Many times I feel even in therapy, they maybe think that things that we don't really want to talk about, or we are not even aware that we feel something like that, or something like that is going within us. But many times by sharing a dream, we can have this mirror, very honest mirror, because as you said, dreams are always there to help us, and dreams are always there to bring some advice or wisdom, resolution, attention to something. And I feel that because many times it comes, in metaphors and symbols, dreams are rarely literal, right? Because of that, we may be willing to share them and really look into what is going on there. And otherwise, maybe we wouldn't like to talk about this specific issue or this specific feeling, but when we use the metaphor of the dream, it can be easier to talk about it because we're not even sure what we talk about yet. And later when we start to dig deep into it, it's
like Jung said, dreams are stories. There are stories that need to be told. And exactly like you said, people don't, even when people do not understand, they come and they just, they convey a certain story. And it's always very special because it's a story that is yours, of the dreamer, but at the same time, it is something that comes from something bigger than ourselves. So yeah, I find it always very mesmerizing to work with dreams because it's there. You think that you are the one who has created that dream, but at the same time, is it really you that created that dream? So these are all, magical questions. We don't always have an answer, but you bring a story. You bring a story, and then slowly but surely, certainly in the beginning of a therapeutic session, we can dive slowly into, what the dream ego did, meaning what the dreamer did in his dream. We don't have to go to all the characters and all the more complicated things. We can do it really phase by phase and very slowly to let the new dreamer needs to get, in my opinion, used on his own pace. How do we work with dreams? What is it? What does it mean? How do I work with symbols? What does that mean? And how do I incorporate what I see in my dreams like a reflection of my own self? So these are all things that can be taught, but it doesn't have to be taught quickly. I mean, we have a whole process in front of us to do that. Yeah.
That's true. And I think it's also very important to, as you said, to mention that it's a process. It takes time, that not necessarily everything going to be revealed, the first time you talk about your dream or you look into any specific dream, because there is this symbolic language that it's just very personal. And once we learn how to work with these stories, with this metaphor, with these symbols, we also learn something very powerful about ourselves, because we really look into a meaning of things that maybe on the everyday we don't really think about it, like what this means to us, what that means to us. But when you look at it through the lens of a dream, you see a lot of things about yourself. And I feel this can be very eye-opening, and you can have some realization also very quickly. You can have this aha moments, right, from a dream. I feel, because it comes from this less logical, but this more creative, this most mystical part of us. And as you said, like, we create the dream, right? Because we dream it, it's our brain and stuff. But at the same time, depends what you believe, but at the same time, there is this, this collective, right? This collective mind that we tap somehow. And that could be explained by, the prophetic dreams we have, or dream telepathy, or all the other dream events that are hard a little bit to explain by our logical mind. So I feel that it also must be connecting with the expressive art therapy that you do, right? Because it's also tapping into different part of ourselves to reach something within us. Could you talk more about what is expressive art therapy and how do you work with it?
Sure. So in expressive arts therapy, I use different tools, different arts for people to communicate, but it doesn't have to be through words. It can be through a drawing, it can be through a painting, a collage. But what I like the most is to bring the stage, to bring theater, to work with role reversal, to let people role reverse into other characters. And I like to do that on one-to-one sessions, but also, and much more, I do that in group sessions. Now, when you want to introduce dreams, when you want to combine psychodrama and dreams, for example, this is where it becomes very interesting, because then there will be one person of the group who is called the protagonist. He's the person who is going to work. All the rest of the group becomes the audience. Okay, they're gonna watch what's happening, and then the dreamer or the protagonist is going to share his dream, and depending on the whole story of the dream, we are going together to recreate the dream on stage. So if the dreamer had a dream, and I'm just throwing an example of him having a fight with his mom, and then the dog came and bit his hand, and every character of that dream is going to be replayed on stage, and the dreamer is going to choose from the group who is going to play who. And then we have this whole dream of the dreamer who is being enacted on stage. That is the first phase. Now, what is really interesting when we go deeper into this dream psychodrama or Jungian psychodrama is that at a certain point, the dreamer can reverse roles with all the other dream elements. So he can become the dog, and he can become the mother, and he can become, or even, a certain object if we want. We can go, in psychodrama, anything is possible, just like in dreams, anything is possible. So then it becomes really interesting because the dreamer enters, not only he enters in dialogue with all the other dream elements, but he also becomes the dream elements. And then I, as the facilitator, will interview that dream element, and I'm going to let him answer. And his answer will probably reveal something about parts of himself that, that was unconscious before. It will help him get to know some parts, some maybe repressed part of himself before. These are all tools to get to know yourself better, and to be in dialogue with your parts, because sometimes we may know that we have other parts into ourselves, but we are consciously or unconsciously not in dialogue with these parts. And what psychodrama does, it gives some opportunity to have a dialogue with the other person, to have a dialogue with the other part that is, in the end, just a part of yourself that sometimes you just want that other part to be quiet, and you don't want to let him talk. And it feels better not letting him talk, because that other part makes you feel uncomfortable. But in psychodrama, there is this magic that happens where all these parts, you give them voice. And that is what I find so interesting and magic. And also, it's a group therapy. So everybody from the group is going, or almost everybody is going to be part of it. So there is this group dynamic and this group interaction that comes alive during psychodrama therapy, or during, Jungian psychodrama or dream psychodrama, that is actually very beautiful to see when you witness it. Because even if you don't play a part of the dream, and you're just the audience and you're just watching, even then it has an impact on you. It has a therapeutical impact on you, because you're witnessing this. You're there with the whole energy of the group.
Yes, thank you. How you describe the group part, and how everyone is participating and everyone is like being a part of this experience, of this process. I feel that this is exactly why group work is so important, whether it's a dream circle or it's this kind of group work, because I also believe that everyone that is coming to a certain place at certain time, to a certain group with certain facilitator or therapist, it's not by chance every person that is there, every dream that is being shared in the dream circle. And I feel there is something, as you said, very powerful and very healing. And it takes this openness to understand that we are all in this together and we all share different parts. And at the same time, accept that when it comes to dream work, everything and everyone that we experience in the dream is part of ourselves. So it does take this openness to even start. Let's assume for now that this evil man and this nice lady and this dog and this snake and this sunset and this sea, it's you. And then what happens? And again, that's why I love dream work so much, because it takes you away from your rational thinking. It takes you away from other ways of managing or other ways of analyzing, the situation. As you said, in dreams, everything is possible. In this part of work, when you communicate with other parts, when you become other parts, it's also everything is possible. And it brings this different dimension to healing. This is also the reason why I love this work so much.
Yes. And yeah, it's a real transpersonal approach to therapy, where you transcend your ego structure, because everything is possible. You can become your dead, your dead friend, or your dead dog, or you can fly, or you can do whatever you want. meaning that you are really transcending your ego structure. You are transcending these ego borders that you have created for yourself, and you just allow yourself to go into a space that is not limited, that is without boundaries. And again, I'm using the word magic again, but this is where magic happens, actually. This is where the magic happens. Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And you also mentioned that we can also work nightmares the same way. We can also look at the nightmares the same way. And I feel that, it's much easier to work on regular, neutral dream this way, neutral, regular characters, than when it comes to a nightmare. And maybe you would like to talk a little bit about how we can work with nightmares using this part approach, this notion that, again, everything that we experience is us. And at the same time, maybe if you'd like to talk also about, is there a difference from your experience, from your practice, from just nightmares that we have, let's say, during like regular circumstances, our regular life, versus like trauma-inflicted, like serious trauma-inflicted nightmares?
So the first thing I would like to say is that I think when it's really trauma related, I tend to be much more careful, thank you. Much more careful, because in psychodrama, I am not always in favor of reliving the trauma. I think we have to be very careful with that. And I prefer not to relive a traumatic dream, for example, or it has to be really with a well-defined setting. But let's first talk about having a nightmare. And I'm going to give a very simple example of, I don't know, somebody chasing you or some monster chasing you, for example, because these are the classic examples and nightmares. This can be, and it did. I mean, I have done that already as a psychodrama dream therapy, where, and I've told you that before, where you can have a dialogue with that person who is chasing you. You can become that person who chases you. And then I can, as a facilitator, ask that chaser or monster, well, what are you doing in his dream? How do you look? Where are you coming from? Why are you coming to the dream of X? What tip do you want to give him? What message do you have for him or her? And you see, these kind of questions that when you again enter the dialogue, when you enter in dialogue, even with the worst dream elements, it kind of takes the edge off, it makes you more, I'm trying to look for a word here, but it makes the dialogue more, there is more possibility, because you are entering a dialogue and you are not running away, but you are there and you have this opportunity to confront that other person and to just, sit with them, ask himself questions, or becoming that person. And there's something much more, I want to say human, but that's not the right word, but there's something that gives more space to a certain dialogue between the two elements, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's like opening this space for some sort of connection, versus being completely disconnected, like this is the bad man chasing me and this is me. So when we apply this practice, I feel that there is sort of even the possibility, as you said, to communicate, to connect.
Allow it. And there is this was the word that I was actually looking for, because when you are in your dream and then you're completely dominated by fear, you do not get the chance to allow yourself to sit with that fear. And what you don't have to be specifically in a psychodrama session to allow it, but because we're talking about that, there you can allow it to sit with them and to confront your own fears which, you know, are also parts of yourself. Yeah.
Okay. So what about trauma-inflicted nightmares? Like, how would you work with someone who's just been recently traumatized and is having very intense nightmares? You said you don't want to expose the person to maybe relive the dream because they could become re-traumatized, right? So what would be other possibilities?
I have an example of, because of what is happening lately here, I have an example of one analysant who called me and she said to me, listen, I don't know what to do. I am reliving everything in my nightmares. And I know you've always told me that I have to write my dreams down, but I feel that if I write them down now, it's going to be much worse. And I think this has to be heard as well. As much as we as dream workers or dream therapists, we believe in the importance of writing dreams down because it's very much important. I think we have to make also some kind of difference of when it is too much and accept that level of too muchness, right? And this is also what I told her. I said to her, listen, if for now it feels too much, you need to listen to that sensation in your body that it's too much, and you do not have to do anything, you know. So sometimes people, they remember their dream, but they do not want to write them down per se because it's too painful. And I think this is something that I would respect, of course. Don't, if you feel it's too much, don't go there. And you know, that person said that to me, for example, I think something like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but today she has the possibility to share that dream, because, you know, you just have to give some time also to people that when it's too much, well, that person needs to integrate that it's too painful. She needs to sometimes take also some kind of a distance of it, which is, in my opinion, really important also to, if you feel that you need to take some distance of it, do that as well. And, you know, most of the time, the dreamer knows, the dreamer feels, or the person who shares, she knows. And she did ask me because I am the dream worker, but in the end, she knew. She said it's too much. So if you feel it's too much, it is then too much. Just take a break, center yourself again, breathe. Take care of yourself first, you know, take care of your well-being first. And you don't have always to go and analyze, you know, we don't always have to be in that analyzing atmosphere. Sometimes you can let that go, this over-analyzing atmosphere. It doesn't have to be always.
Yeah, I think this is something that I don't talk about enough, but I did have this experience of a very, very intense dreams during a full moon. And they are maybe not necessarily heavy nightmares, but they're like so intense and some sort of nightmarish. And one day, because I do write my dreams every day in the morning, and one day I woke up and I said, no, like today what I need is to shake this off, just to shake it off, just to do some movement and say, okay, to move, maybe to do some like physical activity, and just to say, for now, I'm not touching it till I'm ready. And I think it's very important what you said, that it's not always necessarily needs to be tended right here and right now, because sometimes we don't have the capacity. And this notion of asking ourselves, like, am I able to look into it deeper? Do I want to do something about it? And then listen to your own intuition, to your heart, to see what it says. Because as you said, you can just go against your instinct and harm yourself on a way, instead of helping yourself.
Absolutely. And I think we're touching the subject of respecting your own boundaries here. And that's really important to understand. This is way too much for me now. Tomorrow is another day. Now I can't go there. Good for you that you can say that. Good for you that you can express that it's too much for you. It's really important to be able to listen to yourself. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And as the dreams, I believe personally that they come usually at the right time, and they know what they're doing when they come, and they the dreams, if we dream something, we are most of the times able and capable to deal with it. But again, with the post-traumatic, very, very strong dreams, I would say, you know, it's so much for you to process. You are living some circumstances, something that it's so much for you to process, that also the expression of the dream can be too much to process, you know, because again, it's not our regular nightmare. I think it's very important, and people need to know that, as you said, respecting your own boundaries and saying for now, not like I will maybe never look into it, but maybe for now, as you said, your friend called you again and said, okay, maybe now I could do something about it. It's when the emotions settle, it's really wise things to do.
And generally speaking, when the nightmare was so horrible, even if they don't write it down, generally speaking, they remember.
Of course, there is in that way, there is no fear that you will forget something important, because you can't forget.
Yes.
But
Yes.
unfortunately, it's haunting you at night. But again, I think also maybe having understanding of dreams in general, it's helpful during hard times, and knowing that yes, we can experience very hard dreams in a traumatic events, but also it's not gonna last forever. And if it's gonna last for a long time, there are ways to working with it. You know, there is Dreamwork, there's therapy, there are a lot of ways of regulating your nervous system, because we must remember that everything that we're living, it's just reflected in the dreams, you know. So it's not only that we need to tend to the dream itself, but we need to tend to ourselves,
right,
first of all, so we can also manage I don't want to say manage the content of the dream, but kind of yes, because the more peaceful and regulated we are, that we experience different dreams. So it's kind of, as you say, it's a mirror to what's happening with us. But only looking at the dreams is not the only thing that we need to do, because we need to take care of ourselves in many, many, many different ways. And expecting this to happen when we are in the midst of something very traumatic, it's maybe too much. Like, it's too much from you to expect that, you know, you're just gonna not have any bad dreams right now.
Yeah, and also I think generally speaking, it may sound bizarre if I say that, but generally speaking, I believe that, first of all, generally speaking, nightmares are my favorite dreams, but not in the sense of the experience, because the experience is really scary. But I really believe that nightmares is kind of a brutal way of our unconscious mind to shake us, to tell us, hey, there's something you didn't understand yet, and you didn't get it with all the neutral dreams, like you said. I'm going to have to, you know, to shake you a bit more, because I really want you to understand something. So this is how I view it. Some sort of, hey, I really want you to understand something, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to go that way and shake you a bit or scare you a bit in order for you to get what you didn't get yet. So in that perspective, nightmares are really very interesting to me, because I really believe that they're there to let you understand something that you actually really need to get, it seems.
Yeah. It's like with many things that we try to ignore, and then the problem just gets, you know, bigger and bigger, into like the pipe that has a hole, and it's first it just leaking drops, and then the hole becomes bigger, and then at some point it just bursts. And again, by taking care of ourselves and our emotion, our well-being, we avoid having nightmares, because we don't let this bursting pipe to happen when we sleep.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel that many times the things are so deep in our, you know, unconscious. They're so unconscious that we may not be able to see that there is a problem in the waking life, because we so much repress it. And the thing with dreams, and this is also when I said that, you know, sometimes we come to therapy and we really go around the bush, we don't go straight. And sometimes it's not because we don't want to, but because we are not even aware, because there's so much things that are repressed. And dreams, the wonderful thing about them, no matter how hard they are, is that there is no bullshitting. Sorry for the vocabulary.
No, it's true. It's a direct communication. You're diving instantly into the unconscious world. This is what's happening. And that's why it's so powerful, because I'm not minimizing other approaches to therapy, of course, but I know that for you, as for me, it has been super helpful because I like the fact that it's direct. You just dive into these beautiful, horrible, complicated, magical images of your unconscious mind that are there to convey something, convey to help you heal also. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I also think that generally what I like the most about dreams, and this is something I say a lot, but I so much believe in that, people tend to think that when you come out with questions, you immediately have to have some answers.
Mm.
What I love about dreams is that it enables me to ask myself questions that I would have never asked myself before if I haven't had that dream. And I am not looking for an instant, immediate answer. I think that just the fact that I am able to ask myself this specific question without having an answer yet is already bubbling some introspection. I'm already doing some kind of work. It already activates something in my unconscious mind just by asking myself that question. And that is what I find so wonderful about dreams. It's the possibility of asking yourself something that you would have never asked yourself before.
Beautifully said. And also at the same time, I feel there is this, with dreams, I don't believe that the dream have only one meaning. This is something that I know that you also advocate for, is that we do not the or, but we do and, which means like, what do you think this meant? It was this, and it could also be this, because it could be on your physical level, on your psychological level, on your soul level, on the metaphorical level, on the literal level. So it's like not expecting also to have one answer. It's such a different concept that, as you said, only asking questions or doing something, and also saying maybe it's 5 different answers and they all valid at the same time. It does something. It breaks this way, this tunnel vision that we have many times when we look at something or at someone or ourselves, that you say, oh, this is for sure like this, or this binary thinking, like, oh, this is black or this is white, and that's it. But with dreams, it's not like this, because dream can mean literally that you fight with your mom. So it can mean literally you have fight with your mom and you need to look into it. It can be because you're having fight with the part of you that it's your mother inside. And also maybe it's the archetype of the mother that you're having problem with, at the same time. So it's only to leave it open. Like, it's the clinging to the answer. I get it, because we do need answers sometimes and we do need direction. So finding these answers for ourselves in the dreams, it's amazing, but also having many answers, or as you said, just having the question, it's do something else again, to this other part of our brain, of our existence, not this logical rational, this is good, this is bad, and this is you, this is not you. It's like completely different.
Yes, and I would add, even when you come out with some answers may seem absolutely the opposite of the first answer. And then people tend to be very confused and say that, oh, but it's not okay, I have to choose between the one or the other. Sorry. But then I would say, no, it is exactly at that moment where I invite people to hold both of the polarities inside of them, to hold that tension and say, you can feel black and white at the same time. You can feel love and hate at the same time. What do you do with that? We'll try and feel them both without going towards, left, feeling that you have to go left or that you have to go right. Just feel both of these feelings. And that is something that is quite difficult for, I see that in my therapy room. It is something that it's quite difficult. People tend to, I have to choose. I have to know. And gently, I tell them, no, you do not have to. You can just feel both of these things together. Yeah.
Yes, it's exactly that. And it's also what Yoga Nidra, the other practice that I teach, it teaches you when you go to the state of embracing the opposites, like some parts of your body are now cold. This is on the body level, right? Some parts of your body are now hot. Can you hold both of them at the same time? Like when you inhale, you're big, and when you exhale, you are small. Can you be both big and small at the same time? And it's like this tension of opposites. The Young talk about it, right? Like when we are able to do that, there is something new arising. And I feel that right now, what we experience in the world is exactly the opposite of that. It's I choose this side, I choose that side.
Exactly.
They are good, they are bad. They are right, they are wrong. They are this, they are that. This inability of holding the end, right? Like in the dream work, the end, you can love and hate something at the same time. Or I give this example of losing a job, right? I was fired and I'm sad, but I actually didn't really like this job. So I'm also happy.
Yeah,
And
you're
like, how do you do it? Nobody really teaches you that. We love this dualistic, this and that approach, and this is what we're seeing now in the world, this division, this complete inability to hold two perspectives at the same time. And as you said, that like dreams, working with dreams can really help you to be able to hold it. And it's very hard because we are not programmed this way. We are programmed for division. We are programmed for good, bad, nice, not nice, and so on.
Programmed to collapse in one polarity or in the other. And this is, talk about war, this is what's happening now. I mean, instead of holding the tension between the opposing polarities, well, we then collapse into one polarity. And look at what happens when we do collapse into one polarity, then, it can get very ugly. Yeah.
There's one more thing I would like to ask you about. I know that you've worked with Holocaust survivors and
still do.
Yeah. And well, it goes without saying that those people, they lived things that none of us can even imagine. And what was your experience? What was your realization?
The first thing that comes to my mind is resilience. I mean, these people have lost absolutely everything, and they were able to come and rebuild a family and rebuild a life. Before I do want to mention a research that has been done, actually from a Polish woman, I think, and I forgot when this research was done, but I can look it up for you. But that research was really interesting because she researched survivors from Auschwitz and asking them if they remembered their dream when they were in the camp, and if they remembered their dream now that they were out of the camp. And there was this comparison that was made between them. What was really fascinating to see in that research is that, we wouldn't expect it, but the people who were in the camps in Auschwitz, their dreams mostly were very loving dreams about loving families, and yes, surrounded by your family and your friends and love and etc. But then once they got out of it, then the PTSD dreams came along. Then they dreamt about the Gestapo, and then they dreamt about being chased and etc. But this shows, I mean, when I read that research, it really filled my heart, because it shows us that our unconscious mind is somehow in the worst possible feeling, what you're enduring, the worst possible case that you are going through, and your unconscious mind is there at that particular moment, giving you some sort of strength. I have the impression, some sort of healing or strength, hope, in order for you to be able to hang in
Carry
there.
on. Yeah.
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 And I found this to be it touched me so deeply, because I wouldn't have, I mean, it was very surprising to me and then I had this aha moment, and I was like, oh, okay, but sure, now I understand it. Their dream makers, their unconscious mind was really there to try and help them as much as to try and be there in a sort of a healing process as much as possible. So that is one thing that I think I wanted to share. Now, to tell you the truth, with my clients today, they do share their dreams with me, but I don't find them to have so many dreams about the Holocaust, for example. No. So I cannot say, that it is something that is continuously running after them or always there in their dreams. No, not specifically. They do share their dreams with me, but they, like us, they have all kinds of dreams. What does happen, of course, is when something terrible like war is happening, and the terrible things that we've heard here, it does stir up, of course. And I had the same thing during the Corona period. It was also sort of a weirdly, but everything that was closed, them not being able to get out of the house. There was this feeling of this collective, something, when it touches something more collective, then I feel that it stirs up the horrors of the Holocaust again, for example. But really, to give you examples of real Holocaust dreams, absolutely netto Holocaust dreams, no, I cannot say that today I can not say that this is something that happened specifically. Yeah.
So I think that's actually really good news for everyone that is going through terrible times, suffering, grief, pain, trauma, PTSD, because if people that lived this, which again, for me, unimaginable circumstances, and they can have different dreams, better dreams, not reliving the nightmares all the time after many years. So I just want to maybe have it as a message of hope to everyone who is right now, having these terrible nightmares and being in a very, very bad place, is that the dreams will also change as you heal from whatever is happening to you right now. And also come back to what you said about the beautiful dreams in the hard times. I feel that I myself experienced a couple of them lately, that I also experienced nightmares, which I usually don't have. So, again, these circumstances, they even brought me very bad nightmares. But I also had some dreams that were, as you said, they were dreams of relief. They were, like you said, your subconscious mind is going to try, if you let it also and you open to it, and you also can actually incubate those dreams. You can say, I'm really asking tonight for good dreams, for healing dream. I really need some encouragement. I really need to sleep well. And to have also different experiences at night, it's possible. And I also think it's important to remember that, to not be in this belief that, oh, I am living some terrible, terrible things. So my dreams, for sure, I'm just gonna have the worst dreams. Because again, if Holocaust survivors were able to have good dreams that help them to hang on during these terrible, terrible times, so we can have them as well for whatever we are going through right now.
This is why I thought about resilience. I mean, there is something inside of us that one way or another, I really believe that. And I think it lives inside of each and every one of us, that is there to help us get through some terrible times and help us heal and help us work through the most difficult and the biggest fears that we may have. And yeah, I think it's there. And as I said, dreams are there to help us, even if they're nightmares. They are there to convey a message. They are there to help us get better. Even if the dream is horrible, it's still in this horrible concept, it's still there to help you out with something. I absolutely believe that.
Thank you so much, Valerie. Thank you for sharing your
Thank
knowledge and your experience, and yeah, and bringing this hope that we can have beautiful dreams even during hard times, that we can do something about our dreams, and also that if we're not able to do something about our dreams right now, that's also okay, and there will be time when we will be ready, or we want to look at it and heal also those dreams and ourselves through the dreams. So thank you so much. And I would
you.
like to ask you to share where our listeners can find you, information about you, the services that you offer, the help that you offer.
Do you mean just,
Like your website, your yeah.
So my website, but it's going to change very soon. So, okay. But my website is www.expressious.net. Although it's going to change very soon, but let's assume that
All right, so I'm gonna add it to the show notes, and after you change your website, you can just let me know, and I'm gonna update it. So
Excellent.
Just if you're listening to it or watching right now, just check in the show notes for the updated website of Valerie. And also, Valerie speaks several languages. You want to share about that? So maybe whoever doesn't feel comfortable in English, they can approach you also in
Hebrew and in French and in Dutch. So these are the languages that I offer as well. So there you go.
Amazing. So once again, thank you so much, Valerie, for coming here today. And whoever would like to know more about what Valerie does, she does amazing things, as I said, with the groups, with a one-on-one, just reach out to her to know more.
Thank you. Thank you, Joanna. See you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.